welcome to FINA Friday, fabulous FINA Friday, good news Friday. Let's play the special FINA intro. Wait, that was a teaser. Big show today, a lot of stuff lined up. First, some news. Steven is still in jail, and we have a guest coming on Monday. We got Aria DiMezzo booked. I don't know if it's fully booked. We're talking about her coming on Monday. Ari DiMezzo, though, we're working on it. Not quite finalized exact day, but probably Monday. Ari DiMezzo of the Crypto Six will be on Adam versus the Man. So today we got a couple extra sections. Is it just so we have human optimization, as we usually do on Fridays. We have high technology, which we usually have on Fridays. But then we had too many good news, like libertarian good news stories, like social organization, like for the world that we generally want to see. Like, so we have a section, this being the cutting edge of all of these sections, the cutting edge of human optimization, the cutting edge of high technology. Well, today we have a new section called the cutting edge of getting shit organized. And it has things like the Texas constitutional carry bill. It has things like the Young Britons thinking that the royals are weird. Finally, we're looking at the Britons. The Britons are looking at their royals better as opposed to worshiping the descendants of conquerors just for being that. We have exploration, we have aliens, we have understanding nature, and another new section, history, because there was a lost city discovered in Egypt. So we're going to get to that, but that has nothing to do with aliens. I'm not yet. So far, I think they picked it all apart, and they found a few things that they said, we can't explain it. So aliens. Apparently, we have to have George Tsoukalos on the show. Why not? Like, have him on as a guest, talk about ancient alien stuff. But we've got executive producer Jim Freedom in the control chair today. What do we call it? The command center? The captain's chair? No, at the helm. Producer Jim Freedom at the helm. Hit us with some producer notes, or should we go introduce FINA and then we can go straight to smoking weed, right?
It sounds like we're just making today up as it goes. We can go any which way we want to go. So
I'm gonna make up Jim being responsible and doing the promos next.
Okay. Do you want me to do promos next, or you want me to bring FINA on first? Okay. All right. All right. Well, join us, everyone, at the public Telegram channel, t.me/Adam versus the Man. You know what just dawned on me? A good reason for somebody to click on this and join this. It'd be an easy way for, if you're ever interested in joining the co-host crew, a place like that, our Telegram app would be where you'd start. You'd bring it up and just join that group and say, hey, how can I become a co-host? And you're started. We'll work on it. We'll talk to you. If another
co-host gets arrested, there'll be another opening soon.
There'll be an opening, right? and we can always get a couple people to have backfill, in case somebody needs a day off, we can use a sub or whatever. I don't know. Anyways, join the t.me/Adam versus the Man on Telegram. Hopefully we have a contest today. I'm not sure what it is. And if you're not already a Producers Club member and you win the contest, then you'll win access to the Producers Club, which is our private Telegram chat. You can also buy your way into the Producers Club by going to the website, adamversustheman.com, and clicking on the Patreon, checking out the different levels you can support the show, $1, $5, $10, or $50 a month. $10 a month is where it's at. That's the sweet spot that gets you access to the private Producers Club, 24-hour chat, and backstage, so you can become involved and be more active in the conversation 24 hours a day. After that, go back to the Adam vs. the Man website. Now that you're a Producers Club member or a better patron, you can click on the shop. You can shop everything that we got. We got tons of items with the Freedom logo or the Adam vs. the Man show logo. And everybody that's a patron or everybody that's a better patron or a Producers Club member gets 15% off and free shipping on everything in the store. So that's a great deal. After that, you can check out cigarfederation.com. That's our affiliate program for cigars. They have a great JSK nug that's infused with CBD. That's a great choice that Adam's going to be ordering and smoking on sunsets and cigars and sunsets eventually when he starts that back up. So definitely check that out. And don't forget to use promo code Adam10 when you're on Cigar Federation. You'll get 10% off everything on your order there. After that, if you want to see a little bit of fun, go to Instagram, check out at the Garden of Freedom, check out all the pictures and videos of life up there in Gardenia. If you're curious what's going on with Mr. Kokesh up there and what he's got going on, check that out. Instagram at the Garden of Freedom. Very cool page, very great pictures. Next, thecrypto6.com. You heard about it yesterday. Hopefully you were inspired enough to click on some of these links and send some crypto. I almost wish they had a Dogecoin crypto box on there, because that's blowing up and people got some of that right now. So some people got some magic money and woke up to, holy crap, my money doubled. So take some of that doubling, buy some of our merch, send it to the Crypto 6. And then the last thing I got for you is GoGreenEnergyOnline.com. That's our good friends. They brought Mr. Kokesh one of these wind power turbines that you can see on the Instagram page I mentioned. You can see the video of them actually physically putting it up. It's an outstanding video, very cool, very entertaining. This website, GoGreenEnergyOnline.com, is a perfect resource for anything you need to know about going off-grid, wind, solar, zero-energy homes, etc. GoGreenEnergyOnline.com. There you go.
All right. And you mentioned like the latest of what's going on here in Gardenia. I don't know if you can tell my voice is a little funky today. It's not because I started smoking marijuana early like a good boy, taking my COVID vitamins too heavy maybe. But one of the things that's going on, we have a pregnant kitty here in Gardenia, and we are expecting another litter of kittens any day now. And so the kitten is living with us in the cabin. And last night, about 3 a.m., my body decided that the cat dander was a critical mass, and I was not allowed to breathe anymore. Just complete congestion, like blowing up my nose. And now I've got all my meds in me. Hopefully, by the end of today's episode, I will have forgotten that this ever happened, like a bad dream, and my sinuses will be completely cleared out. But until then, let's get Fina on for Fina Friday. Then we'll do the Steven update, and we'll take our COVID vitamins together.
Aloha. I thought I was going to get.
Wait, we're supposed to be that was the time we're supposed to play the intro. That was dude.
Aloha.
Good morning, Vita. Aloha. Is today the day that Jim's messing with us? Is that what this Friday is?
I don't know. Maybe.
Is it just me being clumsy? Let's get Jim back up here to take our COVID vitamins together, shall we?
Yeah, for sure. I just packed my bong. That's what you guys caught me on when I had 15 seconds.
Yeah, that was my bad. I was clicking buttons all over the place.
All right, now you know why my eyes are red. All right, so Fina, before anything else, we should read Jennifer's update on Steven, yeah?
Sure.
Okay, so latest update on Steven McClure, our executive director for Homefront Battle Buddies and co-host Captain Crew. It was his wife who was being just an incredibly supportive spouse on the outside, and all this evolved from a week and a day ago. He turned himself in. That was Thursday night last week, expecting to be processed out on bail the next morning, turning himself in, doing the responsible thing, according to the state, for outstanding warrants. And a week ago, that is Friday morning, about a week ago exactly, to the hour, his bond was held / denied, exact reasons unknown. Well, the reasons are known. It's because he's an activist, and they don't want him out on the streets, right?
All right, you may read what Jennifer said?
Yeah, well, about that specifically, I'm reading her list from her message from this morning. But yeah, I was going to say, do you have any other insight about why he would be denied bail?
Well, we talked about it. it possibly being because he's a veteran. We talked about last week, we talked about the possibility, we talked a lot about like why. We don't have a clear definitive answer of why right now, but I would like to share what Jennifer has just put up.
Please.
This is from Jennifer, Stephen's fiance. Aloha, good morning. Here's all I have for an update on Stephen. 1 week and a day ago, he turned himself in. 1 week ago, his bond was held and denied, exact reasons unknown. He's doing well, and no one has harmed him or messed with him, which is good. Glad to hear. He's in quarantine till next Friday, so he only has 2 hours a day, various rotations where he can make phone calls. Not sure what changes after quarantine ends. Hopefully, he's in and out by then. He has commissary. He has a meeting with an attorney on Monday. That's good. That's good.
Well, I should add one other thing to that. Overall, as a support team, we've done a fair job of getting attorneys to Stephen. I never heard anything about the public defender situation, but if they fail to get him out on bail on that first hearing, I assume there's reason for him to go with private representation here. And he's had more than one meeting with attorneys already, but has one that he's rather than. He's in a good enough position. He didn't take the first opportunity to bail out or to get an attorney to represent him. He is shopping around. He's got someone who he thinks can do a better job for him and might pursue the longer term interests in this case better. So that's really exciting. But like with all things with government, it's going to be messier and take longer than we expected. And I was hopeful that he would be out on bail with a new hearing by the end of this week. Obviously, that's not happening at this point. But
so let me keep on going.
Okay.
It says, according to his attorney, to the whatever attorney that's going to visit him, he should have bond before May 5th, but she'll know more next week. You know what? We need to raise money for attorney costs and potential bail. See, I just don't understand because we must not have all the details or something. They must have them for something else because like when I looked it up, I looked up the charges. I looked up of what like the maximum sentence for that shit is okay, for one thing, in the state of Georgia, it is a felony to threaten the act of committing a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
It's worse to talk about doing some bullshit that you'd only get a ticket for than to just do it.
Yeah.
So let's put that out there.
Just before we get to the next point, this is another reason that justifies Stephen getting a private attorney right now. Two things. One is the bail situation, but other is the disclosure, getting all the documents, police reports, discovery, the warrants, everything. We don't even have that. And I don't know how much that's being deliberately held or just normal procedural bullshit.
Listen, if I was Stephen, that's just me. I mean, I've spent a long time in jail. On the other side, don't get me wrong, but an institution is an institution. I was stuck in there just as much as they were, Yeah. And I would just sit there, especially for $1,000 crime. Like seriously, like one of the punishments is like $1,000 or up to $1,000. But it's so the way the law is written, it's really shady because it says like 1 to 5,000 or 1 to 5,000 year or 1 to 5,000 years. Oh my God, that'd be sick.
Don't give them any ideas.
A fine up to $1,000 and 1 to 5 years. And and to me that's just like that is the complete debtor's prison. And for them to even suggest that he should have to be pretrial detained and have to get a bond to get out over some $1,000, even $5,000 to be sitting there, detained like that, have all your rights taken away as a prisoner. No, that's not right. That's not what America's for, man.
Yes, it's very interesting. We're on top of this, and we will hopefully have a fundraising goal. I mean, hopefully someone steps in and does this pro bono and gets him bailed out, or tells the public defender what to do, and they're able to get him bailed out. or and then he ends up with a very fun case to fight. As it was with my case in Texas, and kind of oddly similar circumstances, where I did 10 days being, fighting the bail bond system, um, before basically getting out for free. And hopefully Stephen can pull something like that off, and then end up with a really positive case, as well with mine. I came up with a new application of the religious defense and beating 4 drug felonies and a misdemeanor in Texas. So, with that being said, was there anything that we need to be doing or looking out for over the weekend, or just we don't want to start fundraising until we have an actual target, and we're confident that this community can pull together, a couple $1,000s if necessary in a hurry. It's not a huge amount, because that would be for the covering the bail or bond handling, most likely, possibly a retainer as well, depending on what other legal decisions Stephen makes.
You know what, Adam? I am so glad the coronavirus has taught us something good. You want to hear it? It is that time is now on our side. We realize that we have time. We can make time. We don't have to be rushed. We don't have to feel like we need to take a plea deal because it's offered to us immediately. We don't have to, we should be serving jury duty. That's our public and civic duty. We should be proud of that, not trying to get out of it. What's up, Adam?
As Ludwig von Mises would have said, I believe, bitches love dudes with low time preference.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and it's that low time preference versus high time preference, basic on the economic principle that Mises discovered or identified, is that if you're not in a rush, if you don't have to spend money now, if you can save and invest, it creates greater overall value creation. Whereas if you have high time preference, if you have an urgent need, you're limited in the time usage of resources, you're going to create less value than if you can save and invest and have patience. So, in other words.
Gosh, Adam, I got a similar thought for you on that one. Ready? Okay. Like, we all should know by now, if you're listening to this program, you should understand that when you're a child, 5 minutes seems like an eternity, because it's like a percentage of your life at this point, right?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. It's gone. Stoner moment.
No, I know you're, but for Stephen, as a kid, you learn to sit in a corner for 5 minutes. Stephen, as a military veteran, has learned patience in more tested ways. And for him to sit in jail for a few days it's an inconvenience for us on the outside, and working around with Homefront Battle Buddies, of course, which we should have an announcement about on Monday. But I'm not worried for Stephen. What do you got?
A juror can dismiss the case from I want to say El Nino. Oh no, it's El Nino 45. That's what it is. Oh.
The El Nino.
Yeah, El Nino 45. Anyways, but they say the juror can dismiss the case. The jury can dismiss a case. That is our civic duty, to go and decide someone's guilt and innocence. It is not the cop. It is not the DA even, really. And it's really not even the judge. It's the jury that should be the deciders of guilt and innocence.
Well, should be versus ought to versus is. But I'm excited for this case. I mean, I'm really like, we got the hot story here for Adam versus the Man, almost as the exclusive here, reporting on Stephen's legal adventure.
I know he's got the Homefront Battle Buddies, but does Stephen have a job?
He was he had a part-time job that he was getting away from for Homefront Battle Buddies. I forget the exact. I don't know what the exact stats of that was.
But
I think it was still he worked in a metal shop, metal fabrication. And I've seen the shop in Georgia, and last time we were there visiting. It was really cool to see that. And so he was that, and he had his, his volunteer work and his civil disobedience as a pastor, and did a lot around that. But that was, I think he was transitioning to full time with Homefront Battle Buddies at the point of his arrest.
Mm. Well, I would like us to take a moment of silence for Stephen, if you don't mind.
How about a bong rip for Stephen? I think he would appreciate that too. All right, and to all the other victims of the state currently locked up, we wish we could do more for all of you. And we're in a tough situation where, I don't know if so. I want to make two other bigger points on this because you inspired me to think about this at some deeper levels, and especially about that low time preference thing. One of the reasons this is possible now is because of technology and food security and general economic security for a minimum standard of living. Like, we know in the United States that we have a really good social safety net. We have a really good, overall welfare system. I wish government had nothing to do with it, but with charity and government all together, with how, because we are not subsistence level humans anymore, because we are wealthy, because we have technology, awareness, capability of creating goods and services necessary to create quality of life, to provide a human being with food, water, shelter, clothing, heat, energy, entertainment. Even we are at all of these basic human life needs, even transportation. I mean, it's kind of expected that in America, if you have your shit together, you're gonna have a car, right? I mean, like, I hate to sound like I'm insulting people who don't have cars, because a lot of people don't, for good conscious reasons. But like, if you're healthy and have your shit together and can fill out government forms and even panhandle on the street, eventually you have your shit together. Like, you can get a car. If you don't have your shit together at that level, there are places where you can be taken care of. Like, that's amazing. And I'm not saying the system is great, or that it's being organized well, or that the part that government has taken over in that isn't disastrous in so many ways. But the fact that we can do that is a product of material wealth and just having our shit together. Like, that's a really amazing, beautiful thing to celebrate. And that means that we can address, we have the luxury of activism now. Stephen knows that he can come out and there's a community behind him of people who have this capability, that we will support him, that we'll find him a job, that we'll make sure he has his basic needs met, that he's not going to just be like, because he's in jail, he doesn't have to also consider, well, fuck, what happens if I get out and I don't have any money? It's okay, you have friends. We are all, like, if you put the average working American, or even a level below on the socioeconomic ladder, you take that person and their life and you put it in America 100 years ago. They're the richest person in 90% of towns in America, right? They're the one who gets to take care of their friends and be generous and provide things and buy an extra load of groceries. Like, just, that wasn't a thing back then. Most people 100 years ago were way closer to that hunter-gatherer subsistence lifestyle than we are today. And that makes so many things possible. And it's beautiful that we as citizens of the empire get to enjoy that. But part of what we're talking about with Good News Friday is that's coming to the world, that humanity progresses, that this is something that we see, like was it yesterday? The title of the show was, government gets less shitty over time, or was it Wednesday? Anyway, like, there's, with all of these things, low time preference. It's made possible because of this general progress of humanity. This is a beautiful indulgence that just didn't exist even one generation ago. one generation ago. Like, stop and appreciate. You know, I'm just old enough to like have a personal sense of this at age 39. That I think about my childhood. It was a different world back then. And I can see now, and this is one of the fun things about doing the show like this on Friday, I can see that that much change that I have seen in my lifetime from, say, like age 10, right? Where I have good memories of you know, how the world was and what life was like in middle America in just 30 years ago, or 29 years ago, when I was age 10, right? Okay. 29 years ago, I was 10 years old. And I can remember, and I have a sense of how much the world has changed, or at least America, and really the world. But, you know, my daily life, I feel like I've got a good enough sense of, you know, and I was paying attention at age 10. I read a lot. I was, you know, I read, I wasn't obsessed. I don't want to brag like I had anything special going on, but like I read more news than the average 10-year-old, I suppose. You know, my parents encouraged that. And I can see that much change now, like even in the last year over COVID, just the dynamics of acceleration, for better and for worse, around COVID. Wow, just in the last year. But in the time even that I've been doing Adam versus the Man, really since 2010, you know, things are really accelerating right now. And I can see that the change I've experienced from age 10 to age 39, you know, that amount of change is like right over the horizon, like next 5 years, if not even in the next, you know, year or two sooner. Do you have a sense of that, Fina? Like from your life? May I ask how old you are? I don't know if you said this on the air.
21.
She looks 21. I mean, I wouldn't that, but she has so much more wisdom than any 21-year-old and experience could possibly.
Adam, I'm going to tell you, like I've told everybody else that's asked my age since I ran for Hawaii State Senate last year. And that is, I'm old enough to be president, motherfucker.
All right, so 35, right? 35.
That's all you need to know.
All right, that's yeah. But that's enough time to have similar perspective on social change, to feel acceleration, right?
Well, yeah, let me accelerate the program along just a little bit on that, okay?
Okay.
Right now, there are 1.2 million people in jail. That's that we are, like, we know, right? That are not pre-trial, they're like convicted in there. 97% of those are there on plea bargain, just saying. And one of those people in there under that category is my brother. And I wanted to give a shout out to him because it's Aloha Fridays and happy, you know, vibes and all that shit. And I kind of want to announce the comment contest.
Do it. Let's get it started.
Okay. All right. I want freedom movies. So you guys know that I'm a filmmaker. And my movie that I made recently is won another award, so I'm excited about it. And it's been entered into another festival. So, well, I mean, it got selected to be in another festival, but it's still cool.
Nice.
Yeah, so things are happening, and I want to hear your freedom movies. I'm gonna tell you what mine is right now. Shawshank Redemption all day long. It's like my fave as far as like freedom movies, because there's just something that is really like, no matter what you do or what you don't do, like there's a part of you that just has to be free to drink a beer and, you know, live your life. And people make mistakes. People make mistakes and they shouldn't have to pay for it. Like, especially not the way some people have been getting, or some people have been paying for it, which is before a trial. You know, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional.
It's a pretty dark, intense movie. I have an answer for this for myself. The best unintentionally libertarian movie of all time is Idiocracy.
Oh yeah.
And one of the things I really love about it is that there are two really beautiful overarching dynamics, and one is that the decline of society is due to people getting dumber. Now they have this like false premise. This isn't a spoiler. This is out in the first 2 minutes of the movie.
I thought it was called
I think it's in the trailers. What's that?
Aren't we calling it The Prophecy now?
Yeah, right. The prophecy, Idiocracy. No, but the premise of Idiocracy is that dumb people outbreed smart people, and the IQ of society is lowered to the point where society just crumbles, right? And I don't agree with that premise, but there is, if you think of it as statism and intellectual laziness, then it fits, and it really does describe the descent that we have experienced recently. I don't think it's overall a descent. I think humanity is still progressing, but 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards. We're coming to the end of this major step backwards right now. That is modern bureaucratic governments built around fiat currencies and militarily conquered and protected territories. That whole paradigm is a step back that really I think we can trace back to 1913, is at least the founding of the Federal Reserve of the United States of America, and the modern era of government as we know it, and major warfare, mechanized large-scale warfare of the modern era. I mean, maybe you could go back to the Civil War and say this, but there have been greater wars in history, but of modern bureaucratic governments as we know them today, based around fiat currency systems, I think you can really trace that back to 1913. Some historians might disagree.
I'm so confused. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, Adam? Sometimes
we are in this step back. The story of human progress is 2 steps forward and 1 step backwards, and it happens on many dynamics at the same time, right? I mean, 2020 was a huge leap forward for the drug war, and it was a related dynamic to this concept of modern bureaucratic governments built around militaries and fiat currencies. But that's the big one that we are about to overcome. That's the big step backwards that we're in right now.
cool.
Is this, and it's about to go away.
Are you going to tell me about it?
I was going somewhere connected to what you were saying with this, and now I'm forgotten.
Get to the fucking news, Adam.
Idiocracy. No, Idiocracy. So the other thing is that libertarianism, the savior in Idiocracy is the guy from the past who was in a cryogenic military experiment, and accidentally his pod is let open hundreds of years or something, thousands of years in the future, and he comes to, and he's the smartest man on earth, having been exactly average when he was frozen. So he ends up being the savior of society by applying like the simplest of intellectual principles and overcoming the science fiction of the movie, he's overcoming their actual low IQs, right? And that's not the reality, but I think it's a great metaphor for what we're doing as libertarians, saying, turn the intellectualism up just a little bit. Come on. Thinking is cool. Knowing stuff is cool. Learning is fun. Come on. Hey, ethics is a good thing to understand too. Let's see what happens when we apply that to government, shall we? Right? And to me, like, Idiocracy is a beautiful portrayal of that dynamic of a call to intellectualism.
Can I give you a piece of good news, kind of Hawaiian style? But The Rock talked about this past weekend about maybe putting a bid in for president. He's humbled by it, and I like him. And he's from Hawaii. I don't know what his stances are. I don't give a shit.
He said he was humbled and honored at the opportunity to serve the people, and I liked reading that. He said to serve.
Well, I don't know enough about him or his politics, but the idea of a celebrity being able to become president, didn't work so great with Trump. But if it's someone who's more benign, who's just trying to be a fresh voice in the system,
you remember the debates, You remember your movie Idiocracy, who the president was?
Right, Camacho, President Camacho.
Prophecy.
Oh, so you think it's a dumb? So you just want it for the entertainment value? No, but I think that actually, celebrating Trump. I want to say, did things go badly under Trump for libertarianism overall? Not really. It was just a continued acceleration, a little destabilization, not much one way or another. But there was a destabilizing effect of Trump that was a good thing. Even if it was mostly bullshit, it was more than we would get from, a Romney or who was running against him. I don't even care at this point. But yeah,
Clinton.
Bush, Jeb, or Ted Cruz.
No.
So the fact that Trump beat them,
Oh, you're
I
talking
think
about
that's a good sign of the people at least expecting a better flavor of bullshit. And there was so much of that better flavor of bullshit with Trump that I think it actually had a legitimate destabilizing effect on the system. And faith in the military is at an all-time low. So it's not like Trump was some great tyrannical ruler, fascist, authoritarian male, even though he had that sort of flavor to a lot of his rhetoric. He didn't like, and he had the military parade, but did he reverse the trend? No. And if anything, he did, he continued the general military de-escalation of the American empire that I would expect is just, the gradual decline there.
I don't know. I don't really pay attention too much to like the in workings of the Republican Party or the Democrat Party, because like I told you last week, I'm a Leo, right? So I don't really concern myself with the minds of sheep. Lions don't really do that. So
So would The Rock be running Democrat or Republican?
I would hope he'd run Libertarian.
Is he? If he had libertarian inclinations, we'd know by now, right?
How would we know? What would your friendly Hawaiian delegate fucking say? I like The Rock.
I think he's more like a Democratic Party's answer to Trump. I think that's what he would be.
Oh, I don't think so, because he loves the troops. He fucking loves the troops. I've almost met him.
That makes him perfect to run as a Democrat.
Huh?
That makes him perfect to run as a Democrat.
Well,
kinder, gentler pro-militarism.
Democrats don't like him either because he's not some person that follows the rules. And libertarians, we get some really quality people that just don't like to fucking follow the rules.
Okay, so I want to ask both Joey and Fina, but the audience as well. So I'm going to put this to the comments first, see if anybody wants to weigh in on this. How libertarian is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson?
Don't do that.
By what would you measure that? Or how would you analyze? I mean, he's generally, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's generally been the sort of mainstream celebrity who doesn't take political positions in order to maintain as broad appeal as possible, right?
How are you judging someone to be a libertarian or not when you don't know them personally? Like, unless someone in these comments say, I know him.
I'm expecting people to cite sources or explain reasoning, not just say, by your judgment of his overall political statement. From his personality, does he have a sort of authoritarian, motherly or fatherly or conservative or liberal flavored personality? Does he have a rebellious personality? Does he have just a standalone, I'm not swayed by public opinion personality? Like those kinds of things would suggest. Like, how do we guess how libertarian is he, or what party would he run with even?
I imagine him being the kind of person that is, for one thing, successful at his business endeavors, or else he wouldn't have made it this far. I think he's easy to work with, so he's diplomatic. And the reason why I say that, he wouldn't have got up that far, and he came up from wrestling, but he's also a strong man. He is also a strong man. And that's just, I like it.
Oh, you're both because you have a crush on him. I see how this works.
He's a married man. I'm not gonna no. I'm not. I'm just no. I wouldn't do. I wouldn't say I wouldn't, but I wouldn't say I mean, I wouldn't. I don't even have the opportunity, so why does it even fucking matter? All right, so
No, but it's a huge political advantage that actually is good as a destabilizing force. And the same thing played with Trump is that when Trump stepped on the political stage, from people who just had a general positive view of him from being fans or having seen him on TV or one way or another, bought one of his products or stayed at his hotel and had a good experience. Anything like that just sort of primes the perspective from anything else, and The Rock's got a huge edge there, and that being plied as an edge as opposed to, well, I worked my way up the political ladder and I've been a senator for 18 years and it's my turn now. Fuck that. No, like, so if The Rock comes in one way or another, I would say good destabilizing effect, right?
Oh, great destabilize. Well, I mean, he's a great solid defender of political interactions that he would have in the future. Could you imagine meeting some of these other people? I mean, Putin goes around and people kind of oh, okay, that's all the big guys, right? It's like, you guys, as long as there's big guys, I want us to have the biggest guy.
So there is
he's gonna be like this, Adam. Yeah, we're gonna get a new trade deal. Yeah.
I don't think the one with the American flag lapel pin has to be anything. I mean, could be as crippled as some of our past presidents have been. That's the big stick, right? But there is the possibility that The Rock could be the secret weapon of the bankers to restore militarism and authoritarianism and squash Bitcoin. Just to be to play devil's advocate and go the complete opposite on this, and we won't know, until he's president necessarily how that actually plays out. I mean, we saw that Trump was a tool of maintaining the status quo, serving the establishment essentially. If they don't assassinate The Rock on his way into the White House, we'll know that he's to one degree or another serving the same function, right?
Oh, they wouldn't. And here's the reality, man. I've just come to some. We've designed a system that wants a puppet at the top, a single person that's
it's designed to select an effective frontman.
And you can't get no better than an actor.
Ronald Reagan, best president ever, straight out of Hollywood. Joey, do you have thoughts on The Rock? Do you know enough about him to weigh in on how libertarian is he? Is there a chance that he would run for the libertarian nomination?
Fun fact: G.I. Mary Jane was a huge wrestling fan. Right? I remember The Rock coming on. I didn't like The Rock because he was too cocky. But it's a character thing, and I got to go with Fina. He's successful. He's moved out of wrestling. He didn't let Vince McMahon own him. He's doing his movies.
Pretty much everybody who's seen him in the role as the arrogant wrestler has now seen him in some positive movie role, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Or off screen in some charity or interview situation.
And you kind
of where did this headline come from? What poll went around?
Obviously it's because he wants this to happen or someone is grooming him. It's not organic out of the blue. All the celebrities.
And for
their
that,
number is eligible as The Rock. Right?
Yeah, for that I feel it's not a libertarian.
Everybody gets groomed.
He's not going to lean any libertarian.
That's a really good point. If he had any public libertarian inclinations, this would not be happening. He would not be. Mainstream media would not be reporting on him, considering running as a libertarian.
I think he's out of politics.
So
maybe that's his trick, maybe this is his long-term ambitious plan, is to maintain, just to be as big a celebrity as possible. And I mean, I want to see the comments on this. Can we say he's maintained sort of an absolute middle of the road political neutrality? Just, I love the troops, I love America, and I love the people, and I've, just, that's it. And no, real any kind of at all controversial political statements or activism?
So I kind of want to go back to one time, right? So time. And The Rock, just like you, Adam, just like me, just like everybody else on this planet, have 24 hours in one day. And in 24 hours, you can only accomplish so many things and have so many interactions and still be a human being, right? You're going to have to sleep. You got to eat. You have to take a shit, you know? And at the end of the day, our president should be doing mostly shaking hands, smiling, meeting diplomats and shit. Like, he shouldn't really have to do anything but just that.
Fire himself. That's what the president should do. That's his do, and then go home. The president should do one thing: fire himself and go home. Like that's and abolish the position.
He should be just shaking hands with people, meeting them. That's all.
I would keep doing that. I would be the ex-president, diplomat, advocate for these no longer United States. This
yes,
Kush
Wonka, or Jonka. I don't fucking know. Kush, what's up? Biden can for sure smell. Or wait, yeah. Well, anyways, Biden can for sure smell what the Rock is cooking. I was like, hell yeah. I totally thought it said, Biden, can you smell what the Rock was cooking?
Hey, Fina, I can see behind you there. You have some sunlight creeping up.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. And then later there will go.
All right. Well, let's get to some headlines and remind everybody what the comment contest is. And I still want to see in your comments insights on The Rock, if you think he has maintained absolute political neutrality or not. And if
I want to hear now. I want to hear your best fucking Rock, your Rock jokes, like Chuck Norris jokes. I want to hear. Do you smell what The Rock is cooking? Kind of jokes about like.
See? If The Rock was smart, he would invest a little money in covert social media activism and take over the Chuck Norris Chuck Norris's gods.
There's a whole webpage.
Could you imagine
genre of jokes?
The Rock became a libertarian. He would have a meme that says, "Dear Fed," or "Dear the Federal Reserve. Do you smell what the fucking Rock is cooking? He's a libertarian now. That'd be awesome."
All right, so we've got our comment contest. Excuse me, Bina will be watching throughout the show. Let's get to some headlines. Starting in the cutting edge of human optimization, we have some fun sex stories. There are unfun sex stories. These are fun sex stories. New York Post, OnlyFans, COVID-19 pandemic have spurred a new sexual revolution. No one is more surprised that Sonia Morgan is the fourth most popular star on OnlyFans than Sonia Morgan. She is, after all, 57 years old and most famous as a long-standing Real Housewife of New York, not the sort of person you'd expect on a platform comprised mainly of nudes and homemade softcore porn. But Morgan, who is always looking to expand her empire, toaster ovens, and the Nigerian football team are among the doomed enterprises known to Rhony. That's RHONY. And it took me a second to figure this out. Real Housewives of New York fans thought there might be room on OnlyFans for her brand of middle-aged flooziness. So there is a lot that has changed with that. So now a major movie star, skipping ahead stories, such as Michael B. Jordan, creates an OnlyFans account, close-up of him biting his lower lip as bait to zero scandal. Beyonce name checks OnlyFans and Megan Thee Stallions Savage, and the site gets a 15% uptick in traffic in 24 hours. Black China, Cardi B, Tyga, Teen Wolf star Tyler Posey, all are top content creators, sexualizing the content as little or as much as they choose. But the celebrities are just a tiny fraction of OnlyFans users. It's attracted college students, housewives, and married couples. From average people who will show you everything to those who offer more of a tease. Since the lockdown, OnlyFans reported a spike of 7.5 million users in November 2019 to 85 million in December 2020. The Guardian Australia reported that OnlyFans now claims 85 million global users with a 2020 payout of $2.7 billion to its content creators. As the Guardian put it, Everyone and their mom is on it. Yeah. So, as the story says, there are no gatekeepers anymore determining what is sexy. And there's this sort of pure demand of the internet that creates a whole other market that is much more, shall we say, fluid. We are in the midst of another sexual revolution ignited by the collision of technology and a generational shift in attitude. The power that women especially derive from online sex work, from setting their own parameters and prices, has transformed our ideas of who participates and why, not to mention a global pandemic that has left many financially strapped, ready to take advantage of audiences still mostly confined to their homes. And I mean, if you're a feminist, and I mean, I consider myself a feminist by the actual definition of the word, not the way most people who call themselves that define it, right? But the actual definition is, do you believe in equality between the genders? Which means that I don't believe in certain things being unequal by gender bases, right? So, and this isn't to say that there aren't differences. I don't pretend that men don't have better spatial reasoning and women don't have better language skills. Like, this is basic gender difference shit. Or that men are physically stronger on average and women are able to make babies and men aren't, and that there is a sex difference there can be appreciated. And what we can see is that historically men's advantage based on that physicality has diminished with technology. That there has historically been a male sex advantage in cruder societies, and societies dominated by violence, and societies that value creation, where we have greater security. That side of male dominance isn't really a thing anymore. I mean, I don't say anymore. I should say becoming less and less of a thing as humanity becomes less violent, as we become more accountable for violence. And so the fact that, we used to have a huge advantage because, we were the ones who could lift 50-pound bags of concrete over our heads or bales of hay or whatever it was. Now that there are machines for that, men are less relevant. And there's a crisis in masculinity about this, right? And in modern governments having taken over, especially in this, the red pill, MGTOW movement, men going their own way, talk about this a lot, that, government as welfare provider, the phenomenon of the single mother or single parent, that this is a product of government taking over that advantage where males had that role as a provider, right? But in terms of female sexuality, and the ability to make babies, like, what else is more? Like, do we value people? If we value people, we need to really appropriately value people who can make people. Like, that's yeah. And that and female sexuality have been denied proper valuation in the global market. The value of women, that men want to pay for pleasure from women, whether it's in non-economically based romantic exchanges, relationships of just mutual exchange of love and affection, or in a prostitution setting, or all the way down to recorded pornography, to everything in between, which this is the new market for. To bring it back to the story and the positive change we're seeing, sort of another silver lining of Corona, but just a general part of this technology-driven sexual revolution that we're in right now. And a big positive part of this is just the women having access to the market with their sexuality without government in the way, one way or another. And that is a huge, and as a feminist, that's something I say that good, that's awesome. And that we can see these changes and acknowledge those dynamics over time, I think gives us a little more comfort for those of us who are gendered to feel that place in society, to understand these things, at least to me, to go, well, yeah, as much as I'm a big strong man, well, since the gun was invented, since every woman was able to carry pepper spray, like the relevance, like the whole temptation of someone who has that ability to physically dominate, just not a thing anymore. I can say that I still have an advantage because I'm fit, that I can create certain things, I can build, I can do construction, I can cut logs, but even that's like about to go away as an advantage. And even there, what's my value? It's not my physicality, it's my intellect, it's my creation of things. And this actually comes to a revaluation of that which is uniquely male and masculine in our minds. right? We'll never have the ability. Well, I don't know, shit. We might be able to make babies like in the movie Junior, right? Where Arnold
Maybe,
Schwarzenegger
We're getting
has
there.
a baby, right?
And there's a parent and baby already. There's a free parent and baby. So you never know.
But we see, there is this sort of, crisis of masculinity as our value as protectors and providers is sort of the first thing to be diminished by technology in terms of gender roles. And right now, women are enjoying the empowerment of the valuation of their sexuality. And I don't think yet that the ability to make babies. I mean, we're getting there, but like for people who want to have kids who can't, for women to be able to, for that market to be properly evaluated without government in the way, for people to sort of feel free to make people in whatever way is best for them. Like I think that, and being valued properly as creators of life, I think that is sort of the next thing in this sort of gender balance of power dynamic in human history. And eventually it won't matter because we'll all be uploaded consciousnesses and robots floating in space and that sort of thing. But as for now, we're in the midst of another sexual revolution. Yes. So back to the story. Back to the good news. I'm not going to get into, it's kind of a long story, but again, links at t.me/Adam versus the man. Next, from also Daily Star, custom male sex robot with strongest of jawline leaves married female fan swooning. A male real doll is being custom built for a Randy fan. And the picture shows him in a tank top with stubble, short hair, and strong jawline, impressing a married woman. And I mean, I have like all sorts of questions about this story. Like, wait a second. Stubble, like that's the look. that's the fantasy look. Is it not clean shaven or a beard, but the in between, the just something that's gonna rub on you when you kiss? Like the least kissable male face is the sexiest. Really, is that what women are looking for? I get the strong jawline, but this is that even that that's like the standout feature. It struck me as kind of interesting, but also. I think about who is the stand-up comedian who did the bit? Oh man, I hate to tell a joke without attribution from somebody else, but oh man, I can even hear the sound of her voice and picture her face. But and I can't remember her name right now, but she was saying that why are there no male strip clubs, right? Where there are males stripping, and she says because our fantasy would be men walking around in 3-piece suits with a briefcase carrying around perfect credit scores. It's like, so why is the guy in a tank top? Shouldn't he be in a suit? Shouldn't he look like a rich robot? Isn't that part of the fantasy, ladies, of a man who can financially take care of you as well? Yeah, right. No, so women want that boy toy on the side too, right? And that's what they want in the sex doll. A male sex doll wearing a tank top with stubble, short hair, and strong jawline has been built for a Randy fan. Real Doll shared a photo of the soon-to-be plastic lover on its Instagram page, writing, "Creating the strongest of jawlines since the 90s, but are you a stubble or beard person?" Well, I'm glad that clean shaven is out. Like and the whole male female like over time dynamic. There's a whole weird story about beards that I think is yet to be properly written or told. Maybe some historian of beards has done this, but
there's some weird phenomena of humans in shaving.
Right, exactly. I don't think that has been that's another thing that's sort of coming to an end as beards and facial hair become more common, just open vectors of male expression, whereas before there was sort of an expectation you're going to be clean shaven. And it's like, wait, what? And no offense to to men who enjoy being clean, but really, does any man enjoy scraping their face with a razor every day? Like, that shit's nuts. And I think there's something inherently feminizing about that, right? There's something that men look for in women that versus women look for in men that is reflected in a beard. I know this is a weird thing, but there's a reason we evolved this way. And then suddenly, like, we started cutting it off and tricked women into liking men in uniform.
You're right.
Right?
The clean shaven guy in the uniform.
The obedient, effeminate man.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Wow.
Who will meet your expectations, who's safe, who will not be autonomous, who will be a good, company man, who will retire with a gold watch and a pension. You know, that's what women at a certain phase in human history, women were led at a larger social level to want that in men, and that drove militarism, right? I don't know if this is like, so I'm getting all the cause and effect dynamics and relationships, but you see that these are related. And the reason I say this history, the story has not been told yet, is because it's not over. The history of men being driven to shave, to look like women, or to be and this is so weird, we call it clean shaven, to suggest that having a beard is dirty, right? And I get it, yeah, it's more stuff. It's literally dirty, but we don't say that clean shaven head is a thing. No, clean shaven refers to like face, for men's facial hair specifically.
There's history on that.
So I know there's history of it now, but the story has not been told because it has not yet been fully understood.
Yeah.
I don't understand because it hasn't played out yet. We are still, it cannot be told until militarism is extinguished.
It looks like World War I was when all the shaving started, men and women in America, right around that era.
And part of the excuse was gas masks. And that's what they say for the military today, that if you're in a combat role, you have to be able to wear a gas mask that creates a full seal around your face. And this, and so that's why, at least this is what they told us in the Marines, you're allowed to grow a mustache in the military. And this was there's some connection here. I don't know what exactly is the cause and effect story here, but there's some connection with the military and police code of facial grooming. That's not just professionalism, it's obedience, but it's also with the gas mask. You could grow a mustache, and so there was the militaristic mustache look, right, that came out of that. And there was certain weird portrayal of masculinity as a dog on a chain for the man, and that was militarism. And the idea of being clean shaven or having that particular mustachioed look, it's like snipping a dog's ears or tail. Yeah, okay. We had a contest on. I'm like, what? I commented on something? All right. So do we want to hear more about the male sex doll, or just say, yeah, this is on the horizon? If you really want to get into it, links in the notes. Now, from brobible.com, really cool, positive, encouraging story. Human Cyborg says he's really alive, not just one of the living dead, thriving. You don't know the story? This is really interesting because it's yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just going to read this. We're going to read this story. If you haven't heard the story about real life human cyborg Dr. Peter Scott Morgan yet, strap in because this story is wild. First off, some background. Dr. Peter Scott Morgan was supposed to be dead by now. The scientist has amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, and something called motor neuron disease, which means that the only parts of his body that he can currently move are his eyes and a few small facial muscles. Other parts/functions of his body, such as his lungs, sense of taste and smell, and voice box, are completely broken. His brain, however, is still working just fine. And what a brain it is. In 2017, doctors told Scott Morgan he had just 2 years to live, but he defied them by beginning his transformation into a human cyborg in 2019. On October 9 of 2019, the doctor, who has a PhD in robotics, tweeted what he said was his last post as Peter 1.0.
Yeah.
This is my last post as Peter 1.0. Tomorrow, I trade my voice for potentially decades of life as we complete the final medical procedure to transition to full cyborg. The month I was told statistically I would be dead. I'm not dying, I'm transforming. Oh, how I love science. And when I say cyborg, I don't just mean any old cyborg, you understand, but by far the most advanced human cybernetic organism ever created in 13.8 billion years. Almost everything about me is going to be irreversibly changed, body and brain. It goes without saying that all my physical interaction with the world will become robotic, and naturally my existing 5 senses are going to be enhanced. But far more importantly, part of my brain and all of my external persona will soon be electronic, totally synthetic. From then on, I'll be part hardware, part wetware, part digital, part analog. That was 2019. Fast forward to 2021, and Peter 2.0 is still here and thriving. I know this is going to sound ridiculous or delusional or a lie, but I don't miss very much at all. Any more than I missed being a kid when I became a teenager. I'm looking forward. I have love. I have dreams. I have purpose. Oh, and I'm still alive. I mean, really alive. Not just one of the living dead, not just surviving. I'm thriving. days may pass when I never once remember that in the past I could walk or move, or certainly that I could talk. My brain has its new normal. Instead of feeling like one of the living dead, I feel fully alive, excited. I'm really looking forward to the future. I'm having fun. His husband shared, he is still the same Peter. His body has changed, but his brain, like a fine wine, gets better with age, and his strength and bravery, the way he's dealt with his condition, as well as his kindness, they're all intact. Yeah.
So what were the altercation or what did he do? What's he look like? Is he a computer?
He looks like a dude in a wheelchair. But here we'll get to this. It goes on. Francis, who was trained to change the tubes that go into Peter's throat and bladder, I'm not phased at all, added that while they are very different people, the two complement each other very well. Quote, he's always been able to lose himself for hours on his computer while I've only just mastered the TV remote control. But the difference now is that I can just plug him in so he can be fed and watered while he's working. As for how his life is, well, very different from a regular human being, Scott Morgan points out. For instance, I can eat and drink while I'm asleep. I never need to get up in the night to have a pee. Indeed, I haven't gone to the loo for years. That's pretty cool. And actually, yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, and this is like, I know this is sort of the silly minor thing to celebrate in the story, but one of my fantasies in like sort of the next high-tech evolution of humanity isn't necessarily that we get our brains into robots, but that we get like a suit exoskeleton, right? That puts nutrients into our body if we want. We can eat the old way if we want. But that put, like the patch that puts drugs in, like it has all that integrated. It has fabric, and we have an interesting story in this in the tech section today, but smart fabric. But fabric that's mechanized, that gives you super strength, perhaps. But then you know what else you can do with that suit? You can shit in it. Just shit in it. Or the suit has a little probe that goes in your butthole and like processes your shit out, like, and you just never feel the need to shit again.
He makes it into compost.
Like just and it, garden. Yeah, no, and it 3D prints it. It's stored, or I don't know, whatever. It like burns it in like, I don't know, invisible farts. Invisible scentless farts. From shit to fart. You can pee in it. You can pee. It's like a spacesuit, right? You can shit in it. You can piss in it. Like yeah, that's right. So all right, so. We wouldn't have to have the catheter. No, I don't know. Well, I mean, maybe if you can not feel it, who knows? Yeah. Sex would be weird then if you're walking around with a catheter all the time. Hold on, babe. I gotta take my catheter.
Robots, they won't have that sex.
No, I'm talking about like just the smart suit era. I think there's gonna be. I think before we all become robots or cyborgs, really, and that's what the story is about, right? And then this is just. Yeah, a guy with ALS decides to make an opportunity out of it and possibly advance humanity for everybody because he's just sort of forced to apply cutting edge technology and develop it in order to save his own life. And eventually, I assume already what he's done is, mechanized certain functions of his body. But here, check this out. I'm hydrated 24/7. I can breathe perfectly well with a wet flannel pressed over my mouth and nose. The common cold can't take hold and can never spread to my chest, and I can talk clearly with my mouth shut, be his avatar in potentially any language.
Wow.
The most amazing feeling, my greatest cause of unrelenting optimism, is that thanks to the explosive growth in computing power, every couple of years that I cheat death, my ability to enjoy life, thanks to high tech, will double. That's 1,000 times the power by 2040. And it's like, yeah, but that's true for all of us eventually, right? Like, he's already mechanized his voice by some other means of direct control, right? And these functions of his body, of food, of eating, breathing, drinking, and going to the bathroom. So that's
COVID.
Right. Yeah. No. So we're already at that level of functional cyborgs in the world. So, like, how soon before? I think we have the technology in terms of the understanding of science and how to make things happen right now to create a robot that a human brain sits in and communicates. And the robot, does it have to maybe the whole central nervous system, maybe the spinal cord in order to keep it functioning right? But to have a robot that feeds the nutrients, that supports the brain the way that our body does, and takes signals from the brain and applies that to the control of a robot that is the body that this thing is sitting in, right? Possibly.
Crazy.
I don't know, it might be in a jar. You know, maybe all of our brains are in jars, like in Futurama, right? But instead of just being isolated and kept alive there, that brain is hooked up to a robot outside, and our robot can die as our avatar. We can jump off a cliff and go bah, and experience what it's like to commit suicide that way, and just explode at the bottom of the cliff and be like, okay, give me a new robot now. You know,
This reminds me of the movie Surrogate. Have you seen that one? I believe it was Bruce Willis, but yeah, same thing. Everybody stayed at home. They sat in these little pods that they were hooked up to, and they were aged and old, but everybody was walking around 32
Like the
years
Matrix.
old, happy and beautiful in their little brain programmed avatar robots.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think first there's going to be an era of high-tech suits that are, anyway, we'll get to this. But yeah, that's the cyborg story. And we are an hour, 10 minutes in the show. We have a lot to cover. A couple of fun, just in our human optimization story, studyfinds.org. Too much self-awareness. Mindfulness can actually make people more selfish. Mindfulness training isn't just an effective meditation tool. It's big business in the United States. Apps and other training methods making billions of dollars each year. Their popularity is continuing to grow, despite this widespread desire to be more mindful. Could these techniques also be making some people more selfish? A new study finds there's some surprising downsides to mindfulness training, especially if you're a more independent person. Typically, mindfulness and meditation reduce stress and anxiety, can also increase emotional well-being. Researchers from the University of Buffalo say around 1 in 5 employers now offer some form of mindfulness training to workers. So it can make you selfish by mindfulness increase pro-social actions for people who tend to view themselves as more interdependent. However, people who view themselves as more independent, mindfulness actually decreased pro-social behavior. Now, I think this is kind of a fun analysis, but I think there's a sort of misdefinition of pro-social and anti-social here, because we don't have what am I getting at? Something that we're the sort of mainstream understanding is missing here, or might not be teasing out of the data in this study, is that for a lot of people today, they don't have enough sense of independence. And it's not that we aren't interdependent. I mean, I see libertarian completely yin and yang as, being a theory of individualism and a theory of community or relationships. You can define libertarianism through the complete individual perspective of you own yourself, you have rights, therefore the non-aggression principle. But therefore the non-aggression principle makes it relational. And so you can describe it completely as voluntarism, as in all relationships should be free of force, fraud, and coercion, right? So right now, because most humans have that sense of independence and sovereignty beat out of them by society, by government-run education systems, taking that back through mindfulness might be a good thing if their social behaviors are really them being exploited by expectations or others. And so in some ways, I don't want to say greed is good, be selfish. No, but there are a lot of people in the world who by today's metrics, and this, this is a really good explanation of, if you or the slogan, there's nothing healthy about being well adjusted to a sick society. If there's an unhealthy standard of altruism in your society, then being pro-social by that standard isn't entirely healthy. Now, I don't want to say that that's what I think that just needs to be teased out. I'm not saying these are completely clear black and white exclusive concepts, but I think we include into today's mainstream analysis of what is pro-social a lot of unhealthy compromises of healthy individualism in the name of social conformity, by social pressure, by government expectations, by the law, things like that. But it is a really cool kind of understanding here. GoodNewsNetwork.org. Japanese doctors perform world's first living donor lung transplant on COVID-19 patient. Yes, COVID remains uncontained here on Versus the Man. A COVID-19 patient in Japan has received the world's first lung transplant from living donors. How does this work? Receiving transplant lung tissue from her son and husband, the patient underwent an 11-hour operation at Kyoto University Hospital to receive her transplant last Wednesday. The woman who underwent the operation contracted COVID-19 late last year, according to Kyoto University Hospital. She spent months on a life support machine, acting as an artificial lung because hers had become no longer functional. It's expected that she'll recover from last week's operation within months. Crazy. I assume it's like, partial tissue, taking, hey, you can have my lungs, but maybe she gets, I don't know. You want to look into this, links in the notes if you really want to get details. But yeah, cutting edge of medical technology. We're there.
Indeed.
Although I think, a lot of this might just be, I wonder if at some point humanity is going to regret not investing more in artificial organs. We spent too much, we spent all this time trying to fix these primitive biological things that, we were shackled with in our nasty, brutish, and short lives as purely organic beings before we all became cyborgs. I guess, I'm part machine. I have a thread in my, this hand. I have a Z scar. I have a little thread in my finger. My eyes have been lasered into the correct shape. I got LASIK.
Oh, LASIK.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never heard it referred to as.
Well, that's describing the technology, right? Like
right.
My primitive biological organs have been, in here it's because I cut my tendon. But like Star Wars, right? Luke gets his arm cut off or his hand cut off, right? And they just attach a robot hand, and it's like, why didn't you just start with that? Why didn't you just take his brain and spinal column and put it in a complete robot? Like,
you're not going to worry about him losing another limb.
You would have certainly in Star Wars, right? And certainly by Star Wars time, you would have. And the other funny thing is, check this shit out. If you had that, your brain would be distributed, right, in hardware throughout the wetware throughout the body and backed up in multiple places. You could get your head cut off and the rest of your body would survive, and you get a new head installed, and you're I don't know, maybe just a lot of weird sci-fi fantasies coming out this morning. All right, comment from Kevin Lewis. Get behind the rock in a hard place. Rock for president. Yes. All right. Nice. I like it. HollywoodReporter.com Netflix show to teach subscribers how to fall asleep. I'm just pointing this out because the title says it all. I'm going to look into it. Clever. First, our tagline here. Netflix CEO Reed Hastings once said that sleep was the company's competitor. Now the streaming giant has released a trailer for a new series that explains how to switch off. That's kind of cool. A human optimization story. Daily Mail with this, the 4 stretches that make everyone feel sleepy. During the day, your brain is on high alert, so our sleep experts regularly prescribe this unusual cure. Relax your body to calibrate your neurochemistry and encourage better sleep. 4 low-intensity poses designed to make everyone sleep well without stress. Poses have been part of Dr. Frank Littman's prescriptions for patients for years. And this is like a part of my own fantasy. Well, when that's done and my bathroom is built, then I'll be able to build my perfect daily routine and do stretching in the morning, stretching at night. But I try to incorporate that every night. I take my vitamins, and at least when I'm in bed, I do a little stretching. If my body feels uncomfortable going to sleep, I don't just like tough it out or have a restless night of tossing and turning. I'll do a little stretching in bed or get up and at least touch my toes. So what they're recommending here is the easy forward bend. Let's see, there's a leg up the wall corpse pose. So real basic stuff. And I would just say, if you want to look into this, either check the link in the notes and read into it and see the pictures, get the exact instructions and try it tonight. See if you sleep better. But even if not, and it's sort of like the general principle I was talking about the other day with all these things related to fitness and diet and supplements is like you got to just figure out what works for yourself. So if you know your body, this stretching routine is likely to be the optimal sleep routine for very few people. So you're just as likely if you're comfortable with your body, if you've done stretching before, just think maybe, hey, take a few nights, design a little pre-bed stretching routine, see how that does. All right.
For your health.
I almost created a new section today for food, but I just left it. We said, fuck it. Human optimization. goodnewsnetwork.org, sustainable seagrass, high in omega-6 and protein is better than rice for this master chef. So really cool. Yeah, they're turning seaweed, seagrass, not actual seaweed, grows on the shore, but seagrass into superfood. And it's really incredible in terms of the nutritional content. It's gluten-free, 50% more protein than normal rice, rich in omega-6, omega-9 fatty acids, captures carbon 32 times faster than a rainforest. So cool little high-tech sneak preview in horticulture here, agriculture, I guess. We might be seeing beachside gardens. They did this, like they created a marsh for the experiment for this guy developing the rice, and he harvested enough of it to experiment with cooking it in different ways. I was like, yeah, this is amazing. We're gonna work with this. So you might be seeing processed food with seagrass in the future. Might be something that becomes a new source of agriculture on all unused coastal areas, or that you could even in some areas maybe dig in huge marshlands and just have ocean water flow in and be able to use that ocean water to harvest seagrass. So who knows? Cool stuff on the horizon. If we don't all upload our bodies into robots first, of course, and we don't need to eat anymore. I mean, who knows which will come first?
I want to upload my consciousness into a phone.
Joey, I don't think consciousness works that way. All right. Daily Star will all be video chatting each other over hologram by 2030, experts predict. Yeah. Speaking of Star Wars, the near future might just look like something out of a sci-fi flick if expert predictions prove correct, with us all dialing our loved ones and that rocking up for a chat via hologram in their living rooms. Did I read that right? I read that right. Well, with us all dialing our loved ones and that rocking up for a chat via hologram in their living rooms.
Somebody.
Something's wrong with that sentence, right? Something's serious, like I read it right twice. But yeah, cool story, cool pictures. But that's
we should.
No, we do actually, but it's not. Oh wait, we covered this, where a guy was able to create a digital hologram of himself projected into like a booth next door.
They have like the Michael Jackson hologram concerts now.
It's just a matter of like, do people want that, and does the technology become small, light, and cheap enough to be widely distributed? I mean, those are the questions, right? And is there a significant demand over video chat for holo chat? And one of the interesting things I noticed in this article, there are a few fantasy pictures, right? And excuse me, in the first three of them, it's someone sitting down talking to someone standing up. And I'm wondering, like, so what are they seeing? Or are you just watching a hologram projection? It's like, I don't want to watch a hologram. I don't see the world in holograms. Video on a surface is a better approach. Like, there are ways of developing that so it makes more sense as a way of communicating. And then, so like in one of these pictures, there's a woman sitting in bed holding a pillow, and she's like, it looks like she's talking to a dude standing up. And I'm like, what is the dude seeing? Is he seeing the pillow or her? Like, how is it filled? He's standing in a booth that is like a white, like a green screen, or I think in the experiment I saw was like a white screen background, right? Whereas she's just in her normal set. Like, how much of the setting of someone are you capturing? Do you have to wear, like, there's just so many, like, I'm taking the opposite side on this prediction. I don't think this is. I think this is going to be like.
It's Help Me Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, it's help. Yeah, it looks exactly like Star Wars. Help Me Obi-Wan Kenobi. That kind of thing. And like, I think like as a clever way to record a message, or as a broadcast medium, maybe, but as a regular. Or in professional settings. Like, so the last picture here actually kind of makes more sense because it's a hologram projection of a woman, like in a boardroom kind of setting, giving a presentation, right? And that you could interact, you could have a hologram of people in front of you, But even then, wouldn't you rather have a wall with a big screen with a video of all those people rather than make it a 3D projection that you? I don't know. Maybe there's going to be some leap. Maybe this is going to work. But with all the VR and better video connections, I don't think this is going to be a thing. Not really.
I think this
Not
has
the way they're
great
predicting.
implications in the porn.
Yeah, except for porn. Maybe for porn. Yeah, for cam girls. See, cam girls.
Cam girls, yeah.
That's
You can hold her in your hand. Like how much more can you charge?
Okay,
Cam girls?
now you got it. Now there's an issue.
Hold
But
this
that's
girl.
but then it's sort of one way, right? Because it's so the cam girl is seeing their client on video talking to them, or audio only if the dude wants to just like give her directions, and then he's got this 3D.
thing.
I mean, and then I don't know, I don't want to say it
That
right,
sounds-
but then you put a pocket pussy in midair and then fuck the hologram.
Well, you
like,
got your sex robot in the closet, so you're already ready to go with that.
so then what's the point of if you're a sex robot guy, are you also a cam girl guy? Do these markets
There's
overlap?
conversation.
It makes my porn sometimes covering these stories. I feel like this is all put out by the porn industry to make me feel guilty that I'm not consuming enough porn. Like that my porn, like there's this whole like my sexuality is being squandered because I don't explore pornography enough. And oh look, I don't have a sex doll. Yeah, okay. But yeah, all right. To the fabric, goodnewsnetwork.org, futuristic green fabric that works like a smartphone unveiled by scientists. A new fabric developed by a Chinese team of scientists that works like a smartphone could have applications in communications, navigation, healthcare, and safety. And this is pretty simple. It's touch screen and display built into fabric, and that in and of itself is not that exciting, right? There are some cool ways that if this becomes really cheap and readily available, that you can have a fabric that does all these things. You can make a suit out of it that looks really fucking cool at raves. Like CJ was showing us, he's got a mask. There's a mask now. You can wear a mask that you can program with LEDs to show like any video over your face and make your face look like something else if you want. That's already a thing. You can have it change and play video on your face as you're walking around. So now you can have a bodysuit that does that. But what I'm really excited about isn't that we have lights and touch sense. I mean, the innovation here is the touch sense, not the display. Display and light display, whatever in fabric, not really a big deal. And what they're showing here doesn't look like it's like, hey, my shirt now looks like a TV screen. It's still kind of crude, but it's getting to there. But the touch sensor, what if that's reversed? And I think that it's sensing the movements of your body. What's made possible with that? I mean, if you first of all, like right now, when they make this is sort of crude implementation of this technology and potential market demand already. Like when they make video games or movies with a green screen, sometimes you have a guy wearing like a suit with balls on it, like they did for Gollum in Lord of the Rings, and they track the movements of an actor into a digital thing where they're able to impose like a digital skin on it. Well, what if you had the full body suit now tracking someone? You create a 3D map of people in a fight or in a dance or whatever it is. So there's a lot that I think I think in general, smart wearables as like complete suits with functionality. We're going to go through a smart suit phase of humanity where we're all going to look crazy, different light shit all the time, or we're all going to look like uniform members of a Star Trek group. Futurism.com. For first time ever, scientists create part human, part monkey embryo. Our goal is not to generate any new organism, any monster. Yeah. For the first time ever, NPR reports an international team of scientists have created chimera embryos that are made up of both human and monkey cells. The research, as detailed in a paper published in the journal Cell today, is meant to help scientists find new ways to grow organs intended for human transplants. Again, a lot of fixing these crude biological organisms or organs. Anyway, now in our Getting Shit Organized segment, Bloomberg, this is just a cool one of market development. Porsche's electric Taycan sales on course to eclipse iconic 911. Porsche buyers are flocking in droves to the brand's, I hope you're saying this right, Taycan, 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 I don't know. But Taycan, what is it? What I wish I knew what that was from. I'm afraid if I Google it, I'm just going to find stuff about the car. Let's find out. But sales of the all-electric model almost matching those of the iconic 911. Porsche delivered 9,072 Taycans during the first quarter, trailing the 911 by 61 units. The brand owned by Volkswagen AG said Friday in a statement the manufacturer unveiled its first purely battery-powered model that's competing for customers with Tesla Inc.'s Model S in 2019. So just exciting market development. If you Google Taycan, do you get it's all Porsche stuff. Taycan meaning? Let's see if you Google that if we get something else. Lively young horse. Porsche Taycan, Wikipedia. The name Taycan roughly translates from Turkish as lively young horse in reference to the steed of the Stuttgart coat of arms on the Porsche crest. Taycan. Well, now it sounds a lot nicer. Taycan. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Uber CEO says company could get into cannabis delivery from CNBC. Again, nice getting your shit together story, right? Uber could start delivering cannabis once federal regulation allows the company to do so. CEO Dara Khosrowshahi told CNBC on Monday, when the road is clear for cannabis when federal laws come into play, we're absolutely going to take a look at it. For now, the company said it's going to focus on efforts in its current delivery options in its key categories such as food and alcohol. So you can already get alcohol delivered. That's nice. Also, in getting your shit together, because this is just a fun solar power story, not really cutting edge of technology. Small Florida community aims for energy independence by harnessing the power of the sun from PBS.org. Florida may be called the Sunshine State, but it is no stranger to the damaging impacts of climate change. Miles O'Brien profiles one small Florida community that's trying to take advantage of all that sunshine, billed as the country's first solar-powered town. This report is part of our collaborative series on climate change and its consequences, covering Climate Now. Next, in getting your shit together, Texas House passes constitutional carry bill from DFW, CBSLocal.com. After nearly 7 hours of debate, the Texas House passed a constitutional carry bill by a vote 84-56. And it's finally, as Representative Matt Schaefer said under House Bill 1927, law-abiding Texans 21 and older would no longer need a license or permit to carry a handgun in public. Quote, it's time for Texas to join the 21 other states and pass common sense constitutional carry. Schaefer said those eligible still won't be able to carry their handguns in schools, sporting events, amusement parks, hospitals, and jails. And of course, this is a good thing, to not try to impose on private property. Business and property owners can still keep people with handguns out. Interesting, positive story of people getting real on guns in Texas, although still better to have the technology for non-lethal. Speaking of which, Niche Gamer, someone shared this in the Producers Club chat. This is a very interesting story, and I found a way to include this in good news for getting your shit together. The headline from Niche Gamer is Riot Control Simulator announced for PC and consoles. Ultimate Games SA have announced Riot Control Simulator Police Management Sim by Corpix Games. And it's pretty crazy. There's a rundown from the makers. Your daily job is to keep the people of this city safe. Above all, protests happen now and then this time, however, something is different. The country is changing and people are taking to the streets. When frustration grows, the whole country might suffer. Protests are already happening in every major city. Do you think you can stop it? Despite the dictatorship, you still have a job to do. After all, the law is the law. So why is this good news? And it's sort of, you would think if the police are sort of the enemy of freedom, or being an officer makes you an enemy of freedom, it's not the people, it's the action, right? Then taking on this role would be a bad thing, or glorifying it, or fantasizing about it, or gamifying it, right? But I think when people are forced to step into the shoes of police doing riot control, it's going to create an awareness of, well, what is the temptation to shoot someone? And then we're going to be able to understand police interactions a lot better. I think in terms of awareness and expectations, that when gamers, if they do this right, gamers will sort of, instead of just maintaining the law, will have to have some of the goals be like minimizing casualties and things like that. So I think in terms of police state awareness, this is good news, as weird as that is. Hey, Rebecca B for $5. Thank you for weighing in with your super chat. Appreciate that. Goodnewsnetwork.org. Oh, we have another one. You want me to get it? Rebecca B. Oh, here's the follow-up. Adam, I started following your podcast because while I am not a libertarian, I do identify closer with it than other ideologies. It seemed all the libertarians had become Trumpers, so I found you. Oh, well, thanks. And I think that's not so much a statement about me as a statement about censorship. That the libertarians who weren't really libertarians, who fell into the Trump camp, and I could rant about that by itself for hours, but those are the ones who weren't just subject to the censorship because they were on Team R, as those of us who stayed on Team L. And we do hear a lot on this show. Oh, Adam, I just discovered your show. I thought you'd been dark for years. And it's like, no, I've been here. Just at some point, you subscribed to my YouTube channel, and YouTube stopped putting me in your feed. And that's it. And you didn't think about it because you just assumed that, like with everybody else, that the platform was fair and that we stopped producing. And that's just one sort of form of soft censorship that we've experienced. But I really appreciate that. And I think everybody's a libertarian. They just haven't realized it yet because every human being has free will and is an independent body, and they want their freedom to be respected, and they want a world of peace. I think libertarianism as an ethical philosophy is inherent to the human condition, is inherent to human nature, that we really are all libertarians. And it is that we fail in being good people when we support ethical violations against other humans through what now at least is mostly limited to statism, whereas it used to be sort of rampant interpersonal criminal standard of society, right? Too unique, rocking in the free world. Oh, for a slogan for The Rock. Yes, he is rocking in the free world. All right. Goodnewsnetwork.org. Next, Colorado proposes giving free therapy to young people struggling in pandemic. And this is good news, but honestly, I think it's terrible, a sign of something terrible. Colorado is working hard to ensure mental health support is there for young people struggling in the pandemic. Bill 21-1258 was introduced in the House last week and will provide people under 19 with free therapy sessions if needed. People under 19 in Colorado don't already have access to free therapy? Are you telling me that as a society we don't, hey, kids need someone to talk to? We don't give them someone to talk? Like, that's not in court. Like, for government education systems, they're that fucked up, like that we can't say that. I mean, forgive me for assuming this, but I had assumed that basic like schools had counselors, and that if kids went to their counselor and said, hey, I need to talk to someone, and they couldn't handle it themselves, like they would be able to hook them up with someone. Like, that's not a thing already? We need to go, and is it to some extent it is, right? But that they have to have a bill for it and government's taking credit for it, and that we aren't already making sure that every kid in America knows, hey, you need to talk, you can't talk to your parents or anybody we will find you a random adult who will listen to you without judgment or liability. Like, we haven't done that. Like, we haven't achieved that. That's kind of fucked up.
Are you even allowed to talk to your guidance counselors anymore? Is that a thing these days? That was the thing when we were growing up. You have problems, you could be like,
right.
To your guidance counselor, and they sit down and have lunch with you.
But that was sort of limited. It wasn't well. See, I'm trying to think back to like when I was in middle school, because I had a tough time in middle school at different points, and I got expelled from middle school or suspended for bomb in the boys' bathroom, which is not really the hardest part of my experience there, but
boys with people.
Yeah, that was more that, but normal like adolescent type shit, and I mean, maybe my parents were going through a divorce at the time too. And they were always very encouraging of me to go into therapy. So maybe I had I was in a good system. Maybe it's like because I went to a middle school that was California Blue Ribbon, like best in California. So California has a pretty well-funded, strong public, government school system. So maybe I had that privilege, but this is basic shit, people. Like, have we been denying our children this all these years?
In contrast to this Colorado bill, and this is from personal experience, been in active therapy for PTSD for 2 years now, and I teleconferenced with a Colorado therapist who just last month told me that they knocked down the allowance of appointments from 60 visits per year to 40, which means if you're somebody who needs weekly therapy, the insurance
Just less than a week.
isn't
Yeah.
facilitating weekly therapy.
That's weird. That's a weird cutoff. I mean, it makes sense if they took it down from 60 to 53,
right? Yeah,
or 52. Is it like
40?
That's such a weird number.
Doesn't affect me, thankfully, but I know it affects millions.
Wow, yeah. Anyway, all right. So really good news that we're finally getting our shit together on that, at least in a small way in Colorado, right?
Yeah.
Sign of a bigger trend, I think, that's positive in mental health awareness. France24.com, Young Britain's ambivalent on Prince Philip and weird royals. Yeah, Queen Elizabeth II's late husband, Prince Philip, divided opinion among young British people who are less likely to take a positive view on his legacy and the monarchy in general. You could call them Marmite, said 22-year-old James Casey, referring to the sticky brown yeast-based food spread known for its love it or hate it flavor in Britain. Some people loved him, some people didn't like him whatsoever. Megan Stevens, 22-year-old student, said she felt sad and quite shocked by Philip's death last Friday, age 99. For her, the Duke of Edinburgh, as he was also known, was a figure that you learned about when you grew up in school. Philip would have turned 100. Oh, so since you familiarity and love, right? As Isabelle Riviere, a French royal expert, said, he was a familiar figure for young people, a real landmark figure is leaving. She attributed his particular interest in young people to his own difficult childhood, and as an exiled Greek-born prince, he spent much of his childhood shuttling around Europe. But the weird part, that's what's interesting here. So, if they're, where is this coming from? Weird institution is the next section of the story. Blanket television coverage of Philip's death proved a turnoff to many British people. However, ratings fell and the BBC received a raft of complaints that it went over the top. 23-year-old Matt Wood said he sees the royals as a weird institution and really old school. Quote, if we didn't have a monarchy tomorrow, I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. And that is good news. Bloomberg, now we go to exploration, and we are going to have to zoom through the last chunk of that. Oh, no, not too many to go here. But Bloomberg, a rocket veteran plots a cheaper path back to space. Path back to space. I said that right. A veteran rocket designer and former SpaceX engineer is forming a small satellite launch company based on the concept that modern rockets should be produced less like custom-made vehicles and more like automobiles and airplanes. Woo! Yeah! Private space exploration means mass production, not just government-controlled exploration. It means we are entering the age of mass-produced rockets that going into outer space, not a big deal anymore, right? At $4 million per launch, Phantom says its transport will cost anywhere from $500,000 to $6 million less than what larger payload delivery spacecraft now charge for small satellites. Yeah, that's exciting. From Daily Star, massive 14-foot fireball captured streaking through night sky with flash of light. Experts said the asteroid measured about the size of a car as it hurled towards Earth and burned up in flames. The space rock emitted a flash of bright light in the sky. So, if you want to see that, yeah, there's the video. Did you get that on screen, Jim? Yeah, pretty cool. We see a lot of meteors here. Like this is a gardenia. There's a really awesome sky for this. It's not like there are meteor showers. It's just the sky is so clear, and the atmosphere is just right here that most clear nights, you just look up at the sky for a couple minutes and you'll see a few meteors, like just shooting stars, boom, boom, boom. Really amazing. I've got some of those on my night photography stuff that you can see at the Garden of Freedom on Instagram. Anyway, Newsweek, another fun visual. NASA shows video of two black holes dance around, bend light off each other. Yeah, so Jim, if you want to roll on that video for a while I read the story here. NASA launched a video Thursday that shows two massive black holes dancing around each other in space and distorting themselves into curved, mesmerizing colors. The two black holes regain their shape and their lone colors and drift apart before strong gravitational forces slam them back together again into more multicolor, slinky-like shapes before reforming again. Jim, do you have the video for that? The YouTube one down in the story there? Yeah. This you gotta watch this. Is that the right video? I don't think that is. The one in the story, do you see the visualization with the red and blue circle? There it is, that one. The visualization by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration was created into a movie to show what two black hole disks could create should it happen in space. For reference, the two objects shown in the visualization are millions times bigger than Earth. One of the objects is 200 times larger than the sun, while the other is 100 larger than the sun. Jeremy Schnittman, an astrophysicist at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center in Maryland, created this visual. He believes these binary systems stay together for millions of years. We're seeing two supermassive black holes. Anyway, fun visual stuff if you want to get into. We got to get to the next headlines here. To the aliens. I guess we should take a few more COVID vitamins and play our alien intro segment because I want to believe.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you will, look right here.
We go first to the U.S. sun. Stranger Things, eerie moment, flashing pyramid, UFO, and bizarre orb swoop on U.S. warships before vanishing in latest Navy footage. More cool footage. It's still on this one. I'm 99% confident this is one way or another. This is government fucking with us or governments fucking with us. And I think that's most things that have been reported as aliens.
I like to think it's the aliens fucking with the government, and that just I'm all about that.
Yeah, have your own little fantasy, but let's be realistic for a minute. If aliens came down and looked at Earth, would they be going, hey, you know those assholes of the planet? Let's just tease them with some weird shit and give them the only footage of us that somehow makes them more special. No.
The ultimate troll.
No, they'd come here and be like, hey guys, fuck you, stop doing this government shit. And they'd laugh them. They'd figure out that humanity's best way to overcome statism is to laugh it into non-existence. But yeah. The mysterious. Okay, so the next one from the Star, Daily Star. ISS cameras capture huge 400-foot triangular UFO soaring behind SpaceX craft. The mysterious object was spotted hurtling past SpaceX's Dragon capsule, not far from the International Space Station. UFO fan Mr. MBB333 estimated it could be up to 400 feet wide. Yeah. And with this one being a little more sort of out there, you go, well, that might not be government fucking with us, but I want to believe. I want to believe. The U.S. Sun next. Star Wars mysterious UFO encounters probed by Pentagon could hypersonic drones could be. I guess there's a word over here. Mysterious UFO encounters probed by Pentagon could be hypersonic drones from Russia, China, or Russia, claims ex-MOD investigator. Bizarre flashing objects caught on camera. Oh, man, I can't talk anymore. Caught on camera buzzing U.S. warships, maybe hypersonic drones from China or Russia, a leading UFO expert has claimed. It comes after the Pentagon revealed to the Sun Online the latest video showing the mysterious craft buzzing its warships off the American coast. These are either false flags or another government fucking with the American government. But yeah, I want to believe it's aliens, but I'm pretty sure it's not. Sorry. But to the real aliens, the bite from futurism.com, SETI research director warns of malevolent alien civilizations. We have no reason to believe that technological advancement and altruism or morality are somehow linked. Oh, whoops. Yeah. But what are we going to do? Like, arm yourselves in case they get here first. No, if the aliens are malevolent, it's sort of like, hey, guess what? Suddenly, no matter what you do, we could all die, or you could be enslaved by an alien race. But would they enslave? What What need would they have for human slaves? It would keep us as pets at worst, right? Like torture us for fun, maybe? I don't know. I don't see that. Kill us suddenly. That seems like a realistic possibility, right? Like, hey, you're all dead because aliens are malevolent. But fear mongering from the potential of real aliens. All right, to understanding nature, states, this is from pewtrust.org, states are growing fewer trees. Forest owners say that's a problem. And this is sort of a real interesting understanding nature, even though the story is one of government failure and interfering with the market for trees. Because basically, here it is. When wildfires ripped through Oregon last Labor Day, they burned huge swaths of forest, including 63,000 acres of smaller private lands. Oregon state law requires forest owners to replant their land within 2 years of a wildfire, but many haven't been able to. They used to rely heavily on state-run tree nurseries, but Oregon closed its nursery more than a decade ago. As Glenn Ahrens, forester with the Oregon State University Extension Service, said, we're scratching our heads over this trying to address the need from the fire. And in terms of land ownership and tree seedlings, it's just funny to see that there's a demand, and government is standing in the way of us like properly replanting forests. It's kind of sad. GoodNewsNetwork.org, they counted endangered rhinos in Nepal, and the population has grown by 16%. So here's to the rhinos in Nepal, and to conservation efforts being successful there. From Yahoo Entertainment via BGR, via Yahoo Entertainment, a glacier in Alaska is moving 100 times faster than it should. Nature can be unpredictable at times. Some things are more reliable than others. Spring usually brings a lot of rain. Birds migrate to warmer areas in the winter months, and glaciers move slow. These are trends that have been established and are predicted, or are expected, but they're not always universally true. Sometimes spring is dry. Sometimes migratory birds like geese decide to stick it out in a cold area for an entire winter. And sometimes glaciers move really, really fast. As Eartha reports, the National Park Service recently confirmed that a glacier near Denali National Park and Preserve in Alaska is moving up to 100 times faster than it would be expected to. And the rare event has caught the attention of scientists. It's now not an entirely new observation, but it's incredibly rare to see a massive chunk of ice move at these speeds, and there are only a few places on Earth where it happens. Now, glaciers are almost always moving. I remember this when I went to New Zealand, saw the glaciers on a rugby tour, really cool. And they do go very, very slow, but this is a glacial surge where it is going much faster than normal. And what they're talking about during a brief boost that they observed in the past, the glacier currently moving fast in Alaska, called the Muldrow Glacier, has experienced a number of surges in the past, with the most recent occurring roughly 64 years ago when it went 4 miles in less than a year. So 4 miles per year, 4 miles an hour, really, really slow. This isn't like watching paint dry. This is slower than that. 4 miles a year is considered a surge of glacial movement, but we're talking about a chunk of ice literally bigger than you can imagine. I mean, if you could describe, the size and the weight, and measured in miles and I don't know, kilotons or whatever it is, but these things are so huge that it's hard to fathom. To see one moving at speed and being able to track those shifts. I put this in good news because it's such a really cool thing that, like, hey, with today's technology, and not just today's technology, but stability and like when humans were hunter-gatherers, do you think we could like place a stake and wait, a year and see if it moved 4 miles, if we were even capable of living at a glacier and measure? Like, no, it wasn't in our priorities, but now we're able to understand this stuff. Similarly cool story, Good News Network. Archaeologists discovered dazzling 3,000-year-old Egyptian city left as if it were yesterday. Still, so many things to be discovered. It's the stuff of dreams and is being hailed as the second most important discovery since the opening of Tutankhamun's tomb. An ancient lost city has been found near the famous Valley of the Kings. So lots of cool pictures with that. Check it out. Links at t.me/Adam versus the Man. And that's it for the headlines. Let's get Fina back up here for your comments and for some more COVID vitamins and the winner of today's comments contest, perhaps even.
Aloha, folks.
Look at that beautiful sunrise.
Yes.
We should check it out in the middle of the show. Sorry we missed that.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for all your kind comments. I know we were starting off with some movies, and I do want to recognize Dan. Oh shit, we're doing this shit. We're doing this.
Something.
You want me to smoke weed?
I told you today's the day Jim's fucking with us, right?
No, Jim fucking with me. Okay. So Dan Patterman, he said earlier about The Patriot, and I thought that was a really good freedom movie that I saw. Another one that was mentioned was Clockwork Orange, and I loved that one as well. Just because it's a different way of thinking about freedom and questioning where do we draw the line when it comes to like crime and punishment kind of things, right? So and we were talking about that earlier too. But let's back to the comment contest. All right, so let me tell you who won. Jet Petty, because the specific contest was like, hey, libertarians, like, do you smell what The Rock is cooking kind of style? And so Jet Petty said, who will build the roads? The Rock will build the roads. I like that one. But also we had, just because libertarians are all about like, who's going to build the roads? Well, it's a joke. It's The Rock will build my roads. All right. So 1054, top campaign promise from The Rock, Dwayne the Swamp.
Dwayne the Swamp.
Yeah. So Lewis
No,
The Rock.
that's going to be a good way of making fun of him when he starts, saying, "Oh, I'm gonna clean up DC," and you go, "Oh, you mean you're gonna Dwayne the Swamp like Donald Trump said he was going to?" Good luck with that.
Okay, so let me keep going. There's some good ones. Okay, so Kevin Lewis said, "Get behind the Rock in a hard place." Rock for Prez.
Yeah, I like that. That's a little more clever.
And then Empty said, "The Rock and the people's elbow on climate change." And of course, you read Two Uniques. Rocking in the Free World was pretty good. And then Mike Friedman just did one that was fucking hilarious. It was like on point and everything. So you were talking about like the glaciers and shit.
Yeah.
Right? And so
the Rock could stop it.
Right? No, but then this is it. One elbow, boom, fuck that glacier.
All right. Well, I was thinking for the Rock in a hard place. If you find yourself between the Rock and a hard place, vote for the Rock.
Yeah.
But
So
is that the worst one of the day? Do I get a word for? Do I get like dad joke of the day award for that one?
let me listen to it. What was it? What was
If you find yourself between a rock and a hard place, vote for the Rock.
Okay.
Giant douche turd sandwich. Vote for the Rock. All right.
Okay.
Back to you, Fiona. I'll stop.
All right. All right. Okay. The Rock can't reach his back. Oh my gosh. That's a good one. That's a good one. All right. So,
is that a thing? The Rock can't reach his back? Is he like what?
Okay. So the reach your back.
Muscle bound, inflexible, like.
He got like crazy steroid big there for a while. Yeah. I don't know if you saw it. It's freakishly
like competitive bodybuilder. Yeah.
Like that's a joke among them. Like, like so swole you can't wipe your own ass. Yeah.
Well, because that's a myth, like the idea of being muscle bound. Generally speaking, people who have more muscle are more flexible.
Dude, I've seen guys that are super jacked because in the military you go out on deployment for 6-8 months at a time even, and all they do is work out to sea and they get fucking jacked. I've seen some dudes that just like I wonder if they could reach their own ass, but I'm sure that they can because that's a daily activity that they've got to like. You stretch out. They're going to be able to reach their own ass.
Don't those Navy boys wipe each other's butts for them? Is that
there?
I don't know. I thought that was a Navy ship deployment kind of thing. No.
Well,
I was never on the ship as the Marine.
I'm not really sure what happened in the Mills racks or whatever. That's whatever. That's none of my business. You know what I mean? My business was happening in my rack. So anyways, so yeah, I liked the Build the Roads ones by Jet Petty, and I think he's already is he in the Producers Club or no?
I don't think so. Jet Petty?
All right,
Well,
Jet.
congratulations to Jet Petty either way for winning our comment contest of the day. Fina, any final thoughts? I mean, I know we covered a lot of headlines. We talked about a lot of like big positive, the gender dynamic stuff earlier, but
I do. Because like you were talking about the women's sexuality, and I wanted to just kind of, I don't know, I'm your co-host on screen as a woman, and if I don't say something, then it's like I'm approving of your message, right? So women are over sexualized. And I say that based off of the media, based off of our wardrobe, based off of how we're treated. I don't believe that we need to really embrace our sexuality anymore, because I feel like that fits the narrative of continuing over sexualizing our women. Men think about sex and relationships in the same way that women have historically. And we are now at a point where we can categorize that. We can box that up the same way men have been able to box that up, right? And for us to be like, we need more sex, maybe we don't. Maybe we don't.
I'm with you. I don't think that contradicts anything I said. You're stepping back and providing important context that in a bigger sense, the current era of women's empowerment is not just in properly valuing women's sexuality and baby making abilities, which I think have been undervalued, but also valuing things in women that are beyond that, whereas those things have sort of dominated the way society has viewed and valued women, even if misvaluing, poorly valuing.
Exactly. And how we change that is by us first starting, well, we've already been starting it, but we're now at the place where we need to start speaking it into existence. And part of speaking things into existence is not continually making it about our sex. It's about making it about our accomplishments. It's about making it about our value as artists and business people, as even like homemakers, because that is a job too. That's
absolutely. And you know what? I didn't point that out in the sense that women have a natural inclination for and this is going to sound sexist, but like for however you want to describe it, as an inclination to be homemakers or providers or creator of that space, that has been sort of devalued by being an expectation that society expects women will do that, as opposed to really valuing that properly for men and women who have that inclination, who provide
things are changing.
Space and homes for people.
Home dads now. There are plenty of stay-at-home dads, plenty of stay-at-home husbands, that their job is to make sure the house is in order, make sure that things run smoothly. And that is a powerful thing to have, is someone in your corner that's there, that's going to make sure that your life goes smooth. It makes everything else in that you interact with, like on a work level or even social level, it makes things a lot smoother to have that.
Yeah. And it's been undervalued. Well, for what it's worth, since I was a fan of Stefan Molyneux, I've said that I want to be a stay-at-home dad when I grow up too. And with that, any closing thoughts today, Fina?
I have one more thing. Okay. Because just kind of the nature of how we started out, I want to end with a shout out to my brother locked up in North Carolina prisons, and to all the people locked up in prisons. I hope you have a warm aloha day.
Here's to the good news of that injustice becoming a thing of the past.
Yes.
Aloha.
All right, Jim. Take us on with the promos.
I almost don't even want to do promos today because I've done such a horrible job clicking random buttons. I apologize for all of my micro mistakes today and over clicks and under clicks and all that jazz. But you know the score, people. Join the public discussion, the backstage of the show on Telegram Messenger app, t.me/Adam vs. the Man. That's the public chat. Free to join. Everybody's welcome. Anybody that's watching this live or not live, just click on that link or type in that link, I guess, because you can't click on the screen. The link's in the show notes also, though. So click it in the show notes, get involved, participate, then visit AdamVersusTheMan.com. And I'm still sharing the wrong screen by mistake. Yet one more mistake. I'm not done yet for the day. I'm going to be so quick. It's going to be ridiculous. AdamVersusTheMan.com. Go to it. And hold on, I'm still clicking. AdamVersusTheMan.com has everything you need. It's got the Patreon. You can check out the different levels and what comes with the different levels to support the show. It has a shop. Once you're a Producers Club member, you get 15% off of everything in there and free shipping. And it has a link to the Cigar Federation, which is a great website with CBD cigars. You get 10% off with the promo code Adam10. Everybody loves Instagram. Search on Instagram for @theGarden of Freedom to check out a bunch of cool pictures and videos of everything Adam's doing up there in Gardenia. Don't forget to visit thecrypto6.com to educate yourself on what's going on with those guys and how you can help and how you can donate through crypto through one of these QR codes. And lastly, educate yourself on off-grid living at gogreenenergyonline.com. You can click on all the buttons, learn all the things, educate yourself, get involved, participate, do all the things. Thank you very much for putting up with my mistakes. I love you all. Have a great day.
And on this day in 1919, from goodnewsnetwork.org, on this day in history, 102 years ago today, Mahatma Gandhi organized a day of prayer and fasting in response to the massacre of hundreds of defenseless Indian protesters by the British in the Jallianwala Bagh public garden. The tragedy caused many moderate Indians to abandon their loyalty to the British and become nationalists. It fueled the non-cooperation movement of 1920 to 1922, directed by Gandhi, involving hundreds of thousands of Indians in nonviolent protest and support of local goods and services. And with that, we'll talk to you on Monday. Peace and love, y'all. Choose happiness and be excellent to each other.